Welcome everyone on this call. My name is Mohammed Yamama. I'm the Windows Phone Technical Evangelist for Microsoft Middle East and Africa, HQ. We're starting a series of online sessions about a DPE internship program in Microsoft. However, like these sessions are for public. If you please feel free to share with your fellow developers if they're not interns. This is my Twitter handler, m_yamama. Please feel free to follow me. It's kind of almost purely technical Twitter account. I don't use Twitter for personal things. Very rarely that I do that. So please feel free to follow me on Twitter. I always share with the guys that whether I'm traveling to a place or something across the region, so that I meet with the developers, share with them the sessions I'm planning to deliver and so on. And below is my blog. That's my blog, blogs.msdn.com/b/myamama. I kind of, I'm kind of on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis. I keep posting posts on it regarding Windows Phone 8 development. So today we're going to start the session about introducing Windows Phone 8 development to new developers. And if you have an experience regarding Windows Phone 8 development, hopefully you will find some new stuff that you might not have known about Windows Phone 8 before. So for you who haven't seen a Windows Phone 8 device before, I will just give a very brief introduction and a very small demo about Windows Phone 8 as a device, and then we're just gonna get started with the slide deck. So as what you can see now, this is my Windows Phone 8 device. I connected it to the screen. That program of a video out. So this is a real device. This is not an emulator. And what you first find in your Windows Phone 8 device, you find a lock screen, the one that you can see here, where you put a lock code and then you enter your device. Before you go to the lock code, if you just swipe to the right, you can find something called Kids Corner. That's my nephew, by the way. His name is Omar. So it's so my nephew likes to ask me about my device, wants to play games on my phone, and I try to do every time is like, I'm a bit afraid that he might mess with my phone, send emails to my manager. I don't know what he can do, like use my credit card or what have you. So what I do, like there's this Kids Corner that my Windows Phone has, which helps your kid go into this Kids Corner place where you can put games or and specify what are the application you'd like him to have and play with, and he cannot exit. So if I'm pressing the back button, start button, or the search button, he cannot exit application. Even he can just, even the volume is set to 20. He cannot do a lot of things about that. The good thing for you developers regarding Kids Corner is that you can develop application that detect Kids Corner. So that, for example, if you're developing a game, you can detect whether this game is in a Kids Corner or not, which is very important, so that you can, for example, like prevent some things maybe navigating to IE, doing some stuff. So you're just limiting some functionalities for the application to just the kids, which is a very important thing and a very unique feature that you'd love to have in your applications. We're not going to share how we can do that in this session, but I'm just kind of opening for you what you as developers can do with the Kids Corner application. So the only way to exit the Kids Corner is pressing the power button on the right of my screen, so you will not be able to see it on the right of my phone, and then you can join in again. So this is my phone. I just joined the lock screen, and if you check again on the lock screen, what you can see is like notifications at the bottom. You can see a lock screen background image that could be connected to application. You can develop applications and can create lock screen background images and update these lock screen background images. And there are lots of applications on the store that you can that does that. For now, I'm just selecting what to show on my lock screen. Now I'm showing that I have a meeting at 12 p.m. My time. That meeting is related to some financial thing in Microsoft, so that I do not miss my meetings. For you, you can do like Facebook notifications allow you to show on your screen. And then we've got here the start screen, which is that's the start screen, and this you can just, we have just two modes of screens: start screen and a listener machine. The start screen is, as you can see here, is kind of we call that tiles, not icons. These are not just icons; these are called live tiles. Though it's inspired from metro stations and airports. There's a lot of design principles in that. Like these styles, they show you data from your application without even opening your application. So imagine, like, for example, this is the calendar view. I want to know what's mine gonna be, what is it about. So I can see, like, here's my calendar view. I don't have to open the application to check my calendar, which offers me a better user experience. I can definitely change the sizes of these I want. So that's what you can do in terms of live tiles. We've got also IE. You can change the colors. We've got also the IE10. On the Windows Phone, which is a very powerful browser. It emulates the same behavior on Windows 8. So if you, for example, if you go to this page, I got this page. It's a spam page, unsafe website. If I go to it, I will get as like it's a this website has been reported as unsafe. That's the same message you get if you're using a Windows 8 IE on Windows 8. That's the same message, same interface, same everything you're getting. There are lots of support for HTML5. We're going to show that now. One last thing I wanted to show you guys about is that we've got also NFC in it. So if you're not familiar with NFC encryption, where you can communicate with other devices that have this NFC support in it. So if most of the Windows Phone devices, if not all of them, support NFC. They have NFC devices. You can just check going to the settings, and then you will find something called tap and send. So I have a tap and send here. This one is on. This means that I enabled the NFC sharing on my phone. The NFC sharing, you can share photos, websites, contacts, pair your phone by tapping it. Again, it's NFC capable device. You can do lots and lots of stuff with that. So if you can even use an NFC tag that you can read and write from it. I think I need a camera to show you something like that, but I'm not going to show that for the sake of time. But there are lots of cool stuff that you can do about NFC on Windows Phone. That's a very brief demo for a Windows Phone as a device, with tons of other stuff that you can show, whether it's about sharing on the People Hub, for example. So the People Hub, it connects to all my accounts. If I lose my phone, I don't lose my data. It's all on the cloud. There are lots of cool people to the start screen. You can do lots of things as well. So that's a very brief. I know, like, most of you have the Windows Phone device, but like there are others who never played with it. So I wanted to give you this brief introduction for that. Do we have any questions, or should we move on? Okay, cool. So I can see that we're no questions. So let me just move on to the slide. Please stop me if you have any questions. So for Windows Phone, we've got new hardware like from Nokia, HTC, and Samsung, and others like Huawei. We've got lots of cool hardware coming up. Like I think Nokia is almost there for us. Nokia is really developing great phones like the 1020 with the 41 megapixel camera. The Windows Phone devices, they've got a multi-core chipset, new graphics processor, increased RAM up to 2 gigs. With the 1020 latest Windows Phone 8 device. We've got more screen resolutions, removable encryptable storage. We've got also NFC. We've got like shared Windows core. So Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8 share many components at the operating system level, which is very useful. So Windows Phone 7, if you were ever familiar with that, we had a Windows CE compact, and Windows Phone 8, there was a huge change at the operating system level, which is the Windows kernel NT, which is shared with Windows 8 as an operating system. If we move on to what shared core means and what it does not mean, shared core means that at the operating system, such as the kernel, networking, graphics, all of these things are the same on both Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8. It makes life easier for hardware manufacturers. Just working with the same driver model. These lots of things makes it easier for you to extend Windows Phone platform into the future and getting closer in terms of development. It does not mean, however, that Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8 developers work to exactly the same APIs. However, there are lots and lots of stuff that you can use, that you can minimize code, the development time, and you can make use of the code reuse, maximize the code reuse between both platforms, using lots of things like the portable class libraries or Windows runtime components and things as such. So we're not gonna cover this in this session as well, but I mean I already delivered sessions about developing for both Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8, and how you can maximize the code reuse and just having one same engine and just sharing that between the Windows Phone and Windows 8 application. The Windows Phone 8 programming APIs. So Windows Phone 8 supports managed applications using the Windows Phone 7.1 and Windows 8.0 and .NET and Windows Phone runtime APIs. We've got native app development using the Windows Phone runtime and the Win32, which is kind of in a C++. We've got the games development using the either using the XNA framework, which is a Windows Phone 7 based on the Windows Phone 7.1. We've got also the games development using Direct3D or DirectX, which helps you if you are an Android developer or an iOS developer. It helps you a lot porting your applications between Windows Phone and your other platforms. We've got also .NET APIs. So for the .NET APIs for Windows Phone, this is the primary managed API. It includes all the types and APIs from the Windows Phone 7.1. We've got also some new spaces like the wallet, shared media task, maps task, external storage, voice over IP, lots of things that you can use, and lots of managed code that you can use on from the .NET on Windows Phone. However, we've got something called Windows Phone Runtime APIs. If you're not familiar with the Windows Runtime API, Windows Runtime API is kind of the backbone of the Windows Store apps for Windows 8. It contains these are kind of classes and libraries that are implemented in C++ and projected in C#, VB.NET, and C++ as well. So the thing about the WinRT or the Windows Runtime APIs, we've got like around 11,000 members for Windows Store apps, and then we've got a subset of these members on Windows Phone, around 2,800. That means that any of these subset, you can just copy paste that code between Windows Phone and Windows 8. Copy paste. Literally like that, copy paste that code from Windows Phone and Windows 8. However, there are like new Windows Phone runtime APIs just dedicated for Windows Phone, including the speech synthesis and recognition, networking, voice over IP, lots of lock screen and lock screen manager. These are just specific to Windows Phone. You cannot port that between or reuse that between Windows Phone and Windows 8. There's HTML, JavaScript projection, not available in Windows Phone 8 as a kind of native development. However, there are lots of now open source frameworks that support HTML5 and JavaScript development in Windows Phone 8, like PhoneGap now supports Windows Phone. There was also Create.js, I guess, something like that. There are lots of there's a list actually of HTML5 / JavaScript development for Windows Phone 8. However, we're going to talk about that and how we can definitely use that for Windows Phone. So as a developer, there's this question about which APIs I should choose, right? Like now I'm developing my application. Should I use the .NET APIs, the ones that if you're a .NET developer or a web developer, then like an ASP.NET developer, so most probably you're more familiar with the .NET APIs. So should I use the .NET APIs or should I use the Windows Phone Runtime APIs? Well, the question here is, if you're just planning to code for Windows Phone applications, you're not having any plans in the future to port your application for Windows 8, then I just advise you to use the .NET APIs. If you're planning to port your application and move it to Windows 8 or have another copy of your application on Windows Store app, then I would then advise you to use the Windows Phone Runtime API so that you minimize the code development and you can share lots of code between Windows Phone and Windows 8. So it just depends on what you're planning to do. Okay, what about the Win32 and COM APIs? So in addition to the .NET APIs and Windows Phone runtime, you have access to some Win32 APIs like the low-level networking, camera APIs for native code applications. There are lots of other things for reading files and writing files. These are of main interest to native code developers who like to go for deeper and low level for applications. So if you are that kind of a developer, then you have that Win32 and COM APIs that you can definitely use. What about managed applications? However, managed applications could call these projects. So you can have a native project into a solution. Once you create a solution in your Visual Studio, you can create a Win32, or I mean like a solution that makes use or leverages the Win32 and COM API, and you can create another project inside the same solution, a managed application that could connect and could call these APIs by adding that project to the same solution. There are some few situations that can be used for that. However, again, these are not covered for this training. So this training, again, is just for an introduction to Windows Phone 8 development and what you can use, and introduction to the dev tools. So the app models. So whenever you open the Visual Studio, you know what, guys? Let's do that actually as a live demo. I prefer that. So if here's our Visual Studio. Do we have any? Okay. Do you have, guys, any questions, or we should just move on? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay, so for the Visual Studio, you just go to a new project. I mean, like once you install the APIs, the first three things you won't find unless you install the Telary controls. You can get that if you are a Nokia premium developer, or if you buy you register to the RAD controls for Telary controls from Nokia. So that's what you should get. So the templates, if you are a Visual Basic or a C# developer, you'll get the same. You can just move to the Windows Phone. You'll find the Windows Phone app, the template project for creating a Windows Phone application. Very, very simple template, almost empty one. You've got a Windows Phone data bound application where you can that project is for application using lists and navigation controls with a basic MVVM architecture, and the MVVM is the model view model. It's the best way to share code between Windows Phone and Windows 8. We're not going into details. I'm just kind of trying to show you the stuff that you can use, the app models that are there. So we've got also the Windows Phone Panorama application. Okay, we've got also the Pivot app. We've got the Panorama application. It's for creating a panorama control. So if, like the ones that you can where you can just swipe to the left to show more items on your phone, like the one I showed you in the People Hub. We've got also the Windows Phone Pivot app, which kind of mimics what you can do in Windows Store apps if you already worked on that, like displaying a breakdown of data, for example. So if you have a list of something, and for example, like if you are developing a recipe app, and then you have like Oriental food and maybe Western food, then you can have like this is the Oriental, this is the Western, this kind of a breakdown. So it's more there related into a pivot control. We've got also XAML and Direct 3D application. This project for creating a managed application with native components. We've got XAML and XNA app, which is based on the 7.1. We've got the Windows Phone unit testing HTML5 application. We'll go through that just for you again, because I mentioned earlier there is no HTML5 app development in Windows Phone. So what's this template is all about? It's a Windows Phone application. So let's create just this template. So if we're creating this project, it creates you a Windows Phone 8 application, and it has a web browser control inside it. And this web browser control, this is based on the IE10, which is and the Internet Explorer 10 is supports the HTML5, so you can run HTML5 applications or web application inside the browser. So this is the workaround that you can use without using the other frameworks. So since okay, let me get back to the new project again. And I will show you a very quick demo about an HTML5 application that I ported in a couple of hours or less. I think even less for HTML5 application. I'll show you that in a while. There's also Windows Phone Audio Playback Agent, Streaming Agent, Schedule Task Agent for background agents. SharePoint applications. That's for the Windows Phone. It's easily connected to your SharePoint if you're familiar with SharePoint, and also Dynamic CRM. But we don't have a template for the Dynamic CRM. We just have a template for the SharePoint applications. There's also, if you go to the Visual C++, you go to the Windows Phone, you will find that all the C++ application, the native apps that you can develop, like Direct3D with XAML, Direct3D native only, and these the Windows Phone runtime component that you can use developing your applications as well. So let's go just to give you a quick introduction to how the DevTools would look like when we go to the Tools menu. So let's get back to the. So this is what I shared with you guys. Like, I just didn't want to go through slides. I just wanted to open Visual Studio for you and how things are on Visual Studio. This is exactly what I wanted to show you. So let me just skip those. So, and just I will stop at the HTML5 app development. Again, we said that there's no HTML5 JavaScript native development of Windows Phone 8. I mean, like from an SDK perspective. However, like the third-party frameworks that you can definitely use that for developing apps. The good thing about the Windows Phone 8 includes an IE10. You know, it's a shared code base with Windows 8. And as I showed you in the demo about the filtering and the same browser in the web browser control that I showed you in the earlier demo, there's a great support for HTML5, 2x feature support compared to earlier Windows Phone 7.5, new JavaScript processing engine in HTML5 as well. And this is how we create an HTML5 application. So if we just, guys, let me show you something cool. So for example, let's okay. So if we go to this website, okay, this is very interesting. So if we go to this website, okay, and I go to something called the Hamster Dance Revolution. This is an HTML5. Okay, wait a second. Let me just turn on the sound for you so that you can hear the sound well. Okay, I just hope it works. So this is an HTML5 application working on my machine now. It's you can work in any browser. HTML5 application. You can just play. It's a hamster dance. You can just do a lot of things like with it, right? So it's very as easy as that. You can just play. So that's the game. Okay. So what I did is for that game I went to the settings and I went to the file. Let me just mute the sound so that you hear me well. I went to the file and I saved this code. I saved the website on my machine. And for example, if I go to the desktop, Hamster Revolution tool, for example, and all you can see now for the Hamster Hamster Dance Revolution, I open this, and you can see all the files related JavaScript files from the website. Okay, this is an HTML5, and what I did is I got this HTML5 ported application. I ported this application into my Windows Phone app. I'm not going to show you how I did that, but it really honestly did not take me like maybe in a couple of hours because I was trying to learn how to do it. But after I did that, like you can do a lot of applications as well. So let me kind of show you how my application looks like now. So here's in my solution. I just want to show you the support for I just copy pasted these files in a folder called game files, and then I just added that folder and just changed something in the really with kind of 2 or 3 lines of more code that I added. If you just run this application in your browser, deployment errors. That's really cool. Yeah, because I just had the emulator in my browser running. It's been logged. So here it is. Now I'm just deploying to my emulator, and as you can see, like that's the same game without adding with just like 3 or 4 lines of code. It's the exact same game you can play On the phone, it's way faster than the emulator. By the way, it gives you even a better experience. So this is what you can do, right? Um, so this is how I wanted to show you about the HTML5 and how it is supported on Windows Phone 8. Any questions here so far? Okay, cool. So getting started developing for Windows Phone 8. So you can go get the tools. Just go to dev.windowsphone.com. The SDK is for free. You can download you can browse and download the samples and participate in the community forums for free. I think we went through the lots of resources last time. But the Windows Phone Dev Center, if you're new to Windows Phone development, there's this Windows Phone Dev Center where you will find the design, develop, publish, community, and dashboard. Once you create an account there, you can just see your applications. However, you can browse and the design, develop, and publish for very easily. The development PC requirements, if you don't have the Windows Phone 8 SDK installed for on your machine yet, or you're having any issues, these are the requirements needed, like a Windows 8 64-bit machine, hardware of 8 gigs of free disk space, a minimum recommended of 4 gigs of RAMs, 64-bit motherboard, Windows 8 Pro or higher for Hyper-V, and second level address translation. If your machine does not support that, I mean, this is how you can test that. You can just download the tool sysinternal/technet core info. Just download the tool from this website. Go to the command prompt and just run core info space -v. If you get an asterisk, then you should be good. If you get a dash, then your laptop does not support the second level address translation. However, that would not prevent you from running applications on your from developing apps. It would just prevent you from doing that on the emulator. So if you have a device, you can just deploy directly to your device instead of deploying to the emulator. So this is how these are the output you're getting from from the command prompt. So getting a Windows Phone developer account, you do not need a Windows Phone developer account to download the SDK as we mentioned. You just do need a developer account to unlock a phone for development and submit for testing. So they used to be $99 charged. Now they are just $19. That's what you have to pay for on a yearly basis for individual developers. If you're a student, that's for free. If you're a BizSpark, a startup, and you join the BizSpark program from Microsoft, most probably you're gonna get the MSDN subscription. Then you get that also for free. So what are the new features you have for Windows Phone? We've got the tile templates and tile sizes. On Windows Phone 8, we support 3 tile templates: flip, iconic, and cycle. These are very important for you developers to know which templates you're using. Okay, so for the flip, this is similar to the 7.1. If you played with it anytime, if you had a Windows Phone 7 device before, so the flip, it just flips horizontally, showing data in the background and giving you there's a count in the title and background, and there's an image as well that you can add. For the iconic, this is the one that follows the Windows Phone design principles. We're gonna give a session. Our next session is gonna be about designing Windows Phone applications. So this is how the Windows Phone iconic or oh wow, that's my touch mouse. I'm sorry for that. Okay. So the iconic tiles, these are the ones that conforms with the Windows Phone design principles. So you'll find the numbers a little bit bigger. It gives you more readability, and it just depends on your application which one you should be supporting. We've got also cycle tiles, which cycles through up to 9 images on from your application. You can use that as well. Depends on how you would like to depending on your application, you just choose the templates that you'd like to use. We've got also the lock screen. We've shown the lock screen. We described the lock screen. You can register your application as a lock screen provider, which means that, for example, if you have an application that shows so this is a calendar. So now for this, or you can have it for maybe weather. Or something, so you can make this you can make the notification for the weather app. Then the background application could be the weather application, can shows you on a daily basis different weather statuses, like whether it's rainy, so you show people rainy weather. If it's a Facebook application, then we have a Facebook application of the store where you can just keep changing the pictures on your background lock screen image with the profile pictures on your Facebook account. You can do lots of things. So that means that you can develop an application that can change the background or provide a lock screen background image or a lock screen notification, like 3 calls, Outlook items, or new notifications. We've got something called launchers and choosers. You can use launchers in your Windows Phone 8 application to help users perform lots of tasks, like save appointments, taking a photo, adding a contact, sending an email or SMS message. So what happens is that you can, in a Windows Phone application, if you want to send a message, like SMS message, or an email, you do not send that directly unless you're using a web service. However, if you want to use the phone's built-in feature, then you'll have to launch. That's why we call it launchers. You have to launch the email application on your phone or the SMS messaging application on your phone to send the SMS or to send an email. This is very good. This is important in terms of security from an application, from a security perspective and privacy perspective. That's why we're having these things. There are lots of new ones added to Windows Phone 8, like saved appointment, shared media task, map downloader, lots of other things regarding to maps as well. Regarding maps, Windows Phone 8 has new maps controls. Windows Phone 7 had the Bing Maps control, still supported but deprecated. The new maps supplied by Nokia, they're very, very good ones. Lots of features like the road or aerial, or the hybrid and terrain cartographic map modes that you can use in your applications, light and dark color modes, display landmark, pedestrian features as well. It enables you to do lots of things. We've got location and location tracking. So for the new location API and Windows Phone Runtime API set, which is similar to the Windows 8 location API. That means there are a lot of code reuse that you can do that. It allows background location tracking applications. For example, your phone, if your application is off, if you have a Nokia Lumia phone, and for example you have a Nokia Drive application, you'll find the application is still running. If you start the navigation, it will be running even if the application is not in the foreground. So the application runs continuously in the background when the user navigates away from the application. Enables a lot of scenarios like run trackers, run turn-by-turn navigations, and these stuff. And you can also use that you can make your application like a location tracking if you want the application to be running in the background. Speech. Oh, we're going to have a session about speech indeed. Amazing. You can make your application talk. You can talk to your application, making it more interactive. You can use voice commands, speech recognition, text-to-speech. We've really ramped up the feature of speech in Windows Phone compared to the Windows Phone 7 and Windows Phone 8. You can command your application. You can give your application some commands in order to make sure that it gets you it gives you, for example, or run something for you. For example, if you have an application about news, and inside the news there's a sports section, inside the sports, for example, section that football, inside the football there can be Premier League and Liga, the Spanish league. You can just choose the English, and inside the English league there's a Manchester United, for example, and you want to know the latest result. So imagine this application you're having, instead of going through all of this clicks to reach that the value, you can just say, like, if you can support that in your application, talking to your application, for example, like sports app, give me the latest result for Manchester United, and then the application can either show that, open a page for you, replies to you with a voice, like for example, they lost to or they won the last match, or they lost the last match, and these things. So these are lots of things that you can use and make your application better in terms of a user experience. What about the wallet? The Windows Phone 8 SDK introduces the wallet, which apps users can use to do the following: collect coupons, credit cards, loyalty cards, manage the payment instrument that you used in the application and the music store. You can even link items in the wallet to apps on the phone. There also you can make contactless transactions using the NFC tap to pay, where you can add, for example, a credit card and information to your wallet, and then tap your phone with a credit with an NFC reader, for example, and you pay instead of getting out your credit card from your wallet, from your physical wallet. However, this is only so far as I know, it's just supported it requires a lot of something called secure SIM and lots of things that might need a lot of ecosystem in your country. The latest news I knew about was that they were trying that in Orange in France. I'm not sure if it's coming the region, Middle East region, or Middle East and Africa region. I don't know when exactly this is going to happen. Um, So there are lots of also new UI controls, like the long list selector. It's an amazing one. So if you have a very long list, then and you want to go to the latest one, then now you can develop an a long list. You can use the long list selector control, where you can just go to the end of your list. If you can make sort it alphabetically, you can create groups, for example, like romance, if that's a kind of a movie or a book related kind of a sample, or a kind of an application. You can even do, if you go to your photo hub on your Windows Phone, you can sort that by date, and you can do lots of things, and then you can jump instead of trying to look where you are. We have a pivot and panorama in the phone, web browser controls based on IE10. On Windows Phone, we've got 3 screen resolutions so far: the WVGA and WXGA and the 720p. 720p is the biggest one. From a development perspective, you do not need to develop for the 3 of them. You just develop one. There's an auto scale factor where it's the application will just scale automatically in whatever resolutions. However, the emulator supports the three resolutions, so that you can test your application and how it would look like in different resolutions. Voice over IP and video chat. Incoming voice over IP, like with Windows Phone 8 SDK, you can create voice over IP apps that allow users to make audio and video calls over their data connection. They are integrated into the built-in phone experience, so that so for example, if you're getting a call, that's how it looks like. For example, from a Skype perspective, as you can see in the screen. This is like this is how it looks like. We've got even a sample code for making that. So if you're planning to develop an application for a voice over IP application, we've got a sample code for that. You can definitely leverage that one for yourself. We've got also the Bluetooth and NFC. Again, you can create applications that communicate with other phones using the Bluetooth technology. I don't think it's kind of a new thing in any phone. However, like the Bluetooth APIs enables the following scenarios: app-to-app communication, for example, if multiplayer application, for example, or an app-to-device communication, where you can connect your phone to maybe a headset, Bluetooth headset or something. The APIs enables you to do the following. We've got also proximity, which is NFC. You can make an app-to-app connection using Bluetooth technology. It can establish a Wi-Fi Bluetooth. So, for example, if you have you can send data between devices using NFC. You can use, for example, the NFC. You can just tap the phones together. If you have a Windows Phone 8 application, you can just share a picture or a video or a web page with the tap and send. For example, if it's a picture, then you can just tap your phone within the NFC enabled device, and then you can share, and the phone identifies that device and can share across the Bluetooth the images you're planning to share. Any questions so far, guys? Because lots of silence. I've been talking a lot. So I just want to know if there are any questions. Please stop me if there is anything not clear. This session is for you. Okay, what do you mean by app-to-app communication using Bluetooth API? Thanks, Johnny, for the question. I mean that by app-to-app communication, for example, if you're playing a chess game, okay. So and this chess game requires two players. You can just connect, search for your friend on through Bluetooth, and instead of connecting to a server on the internet or whatever, you can connect to the through the Bluetooth and then play together. So that's an app-to-app communication. You're sending like he played, it's your next game. I'm sorry, it's your next move or what have you. So this is what we mean by app-to-app communication. Thanks. I didn't start from the beginning, so this presentation will be available again or not. Yes, after the sessions, we upload the presentations on a SkyDrive. I will share with you guys the link, so no problem about that. Okay, so let's continue. So better sharing. The NFC sharing devices, sharing data between phones. It's not just between phones. It can be between your phone and your tablet, Windows 8. But your tablet has to have an NFC device, an NFC chip inside it, and it supports that. We've got other networking enhancements okay, sorry. Okay, we've got other networking enhancements for Windows Phone 8. We've got like new network APIs highly compatible with Windows 8. You can just which is very important. The Windows Phone runtime APIs for the networking, incoming sockets. If you're working on a networking application, these are very important for you. Supporting for IPv6. There are lots of things that you can use in terms of networking, lots of capabilities that you can use for Windows Phone as well. About storage, apps can use the storage APIs to read from files from an SD card. You cannot write to the SD card. You can just read from the SD card. There's a session, I guess, about files and storage, and I think we'll go through this one into detail, and we'll create an application that reads from the SD card. So users can also use the SD card to extend device storage for their personal files and media, storing photos, music, videos, and what have you. You can also install apps from the micro SD card. Which means that if you go to the Dev Center or the Windows Phone, so if you go to the windowsphone.com and you select any application you find, so let's choose any applications here, see top apps or top games or whatever. So if whatever application you find, you'll find on the bottom left here, you'll find download and install manually. This means that you can download the file and store it on your SD card. So imagine that you and your friends or whatever, you have a list of applications that you'd like to or 100 megabytes application or a 500 megabytes of application you want to install on your phone. I don't think it will be a really good thing if all of you download that. It will take much time, but I think a better solution is one of you just downloads that on an SD card, and you can just pop it out and share the SD card with your friends, and they can just install it from their phones as well. Just there's a question I always get about what if it's a paid application, wouldn't that make it like people won't pay? No, you don't have to worry about that, because for a paid application, even for the free applications, in order to install the app, you need to be connected to the internet, which means that so that if you haven't paid for the application, then you'll have to pay for it. It just puts you the offline documents or the offline files on the SD card, but you will not be able to install the application unless you pay if it's a paid app. Or even install it because if it's for free, so that the developers knows about which applications he has is how many installments he got. So you always need internet connection for that one. In-app purchase. So for you who might not be familiar with in-app purchase, oops, sorry. Where is the deck? Okay. So for in-app purchase, if you played if you played games before, in-app purchase is, for example, if you play a kind of Angry Birds or whatever, you can go inside the application and purchase some things. So you can buy an extra level, or you can buy, or if it's an action game or a first man shooter game, then you can buy bullets or new weapons or whatever if you're a game player. So you can even if it's a book game, for example, then you can I mean, like bookstore game, you can buy books from this, or you can rent books from this in-app purchase thing. So it's a very we now support in-app purchase. It helps you to sell virtual products for real money. Our servers, Microsoft servers, host the catalog of products that are available for in-app purchasing, including the price and the descriptive metadata that you might need. We also provide a commerce infrastructures, including methods for users to pay in 190 regions around the world. It's very useful. It extends the reach for you, upsell, and the customization that you'd like to do in your application. There are two types of we've got in-app purchase used for digital content. They were called there are the durables and the consumables. What are the difference between a consumable and a durable? A consumable is something that you buy once and own forever. For example, like if you're in an Angry Bird, you can buy a level, so you buy it for once and you don't buy it again, right? So that's called a durable. A consumable, that means that you consume it. For example, like if it's a movie rental, for example, if it's so it's something has to be with money, or for example in your game, something that you can consume inside your game, whether it's like movie rental, maybe if you're buying some ammos to your weapon, so these kind of stuff are called consumables. We've got that much supported in our Windows Phone app development. And we're going to have a session about publishing to the store and how to monetize and make money from your Windows Phone application. I think that's going to be our last session. Localization and globalization. The new project templates, creates projects that are set up for localization and globalizations you have. So they contain all the code elements you need to localize your application. So now Windows Phone 8 supports languages as Arabic, Hebrew, Persian, anything that or these languages like language like these that are right to left languages. So now Windows Phone supports that one. There are also some some of the elements of, for example, like the loading thing or anything. You can make it move from right to left instead from left to right. So it helps you give a better user experience and localize the application to your own country and language. So consumer store coverage. We've got two things, something called consumer store and developer store. For the consumer store, this is the store where consumers or users who buy the phone have access to. Okay, so like have access to a store. So for example, when you buy a device in Lebanon, then you can find you just change the region to Lebanon on your phone, and then you have access to the applications for Lebanon or the applications that are made available in the Lebanese store. Okay, we've got over 180 countries now. So in Windows Phone 7.0, that's how we started. Windows Phone 7.0, we just had 29 countries. As you can see in the Middle East and Africa region, we just had South Africa. In 7.5, we included more from the region. We reached 63 countries. We've got like Saudi, Gulf, or UAE, but we're still away from the Middle East as a whole. And then with Windows Phone 8.0, we almost reached the whole world, I guess, like 180 plus countries, like maybe excluding the Sudan and some other countries. But we're almost there in everyone. Like any user, we've got the biggest coverage worldwide, even against our competitors. In terms looking at developers from a developer store, we've got also over 180 countries. We've got like 38 countries for Windows Phone 7.x. We were using something called Yalla Apps. If if you were a Windows Phone 7 the developer, so you will most probably be familiar with that. However, with Windows Phone 8.0, we're reaching over 180 developers. So again, the developer store, that means that you as a developer can register an account on the store and publish your applications and make money out of that. Languages, we have 50 languages. Windows Phone 7.5, Windows Phone just supported 24 languages, and Windows Phone 8 we supported 50 languages. For the dev tools, of course, including the one to note here is in the region is Arabic and Turkish, but English and French were already there. Dev tools, we used to connect to something called Zune. Now we don't need to do that. We can just Windows Phone 8 devices required only a USB connection. We don't need other software. We can once you create an account, you can register your phone so that you unlock your phone so that you can test the applications on your phone. So before you can deploy your own programs to the device, you need to register it as a developer device. This is very easy to do. You can register the phone. You can register up to 3 devices per account. Student can register just 1 device. You have up to 10 applications to install at the same time on your device. So Visual Studio lets you select the target device for your program. So as you can see here in the picture, you can choose which emulator you'd like to use, whether you want to use the device or the emulators, so that you deploy your application to it. Application on the phone. Once you have deployed an application on the phone, it's stored on the device for later use. Again, you have a limit of 10 of your own application on the phone at any one time. So if you want to deploy more applications that are not from the store, you'll just have to uninstall any of your testing apps or apps that are yet to be published. And the good thing is you can send, once you deploy an application or build a solution on your phone, you can use a ZAP file. You'll get something called a ZAP file that you can share with your developers, who can also test their applications, your application on their devices without having your own device. Of course, it has to be an unlocked or a developer device as well. We've got the Visual Studio device, the Visual Studio debugging capability. We've got the Visual Studio provides an exceptional debugging experience that extends to Windows Phone. You can do all that, just like breakpoints, single stepping, viewing, and modifying variables. There's also the Windows Phone emulator that runs as a Hyper-V virtual machine on your PC, and as we mentioned before, it contains the so this emulator runs a full copy of your Windows Phone OS inside a virtual machine. You can debug your apps on the emulator pretty much the same way as when running on the real phone. Emulator contains most of the complete Windows Phone experience. It does have the browser, provide the phone behaviors for things like placing calls, sending SMSs, lots of things that you can do through the emulator. You can use the emulator to capture screenshots even. You can lock and unlock the phone through the emulator as well. I would just tell you that, and then we'll go to a test to the emulator and what you can do for the emulator. So the emulator is not a reliable way of predicting how a program will perform on a real device. Because the Windows itself is more most probably it's gonna be more powerful than your phone. Then testing on the emulator is just use the emulator for testing, for functional testing only. However, the real testing should be on your device. Deploying to the emulator, this is how you do it, and I will just show you guys how you can do that. Emulator interface, you can use the PC mouse to control the emulator. If you have a touch screen, you can use that. You can even pinch and zoom it from your touch screen. If you use page up and page down, then you can skip the keyboard as well. Emulator orientation, we'll show that in a moment in the demo. You can even take pictures from the emulator. You can specify the location from your emulator, like for example, so you can generate location data for your application. You can use pins for that one as well. You have the simulation dashboard on in the Visual Studio. You can use that to test your application against whether the phone is locked or unlocked, or you can even test that if you can test the network simulation on your PC, on your phone, whether your phone or whether your phone is having a 2G or 3G or 4G or Wi-Fi or no network. How would your phone respond, or the application would respond to such network conditions? You can also have a single strength, whether it's good, average, or poor. This is very important if your application is using kind of networking and have internet connection main capabilities and functionalities. You can even capture screenshots from your additional tools on your emulator. We've got also, you can capture screenshots on a real device. It's new to Windows Phone 8. All you have to do is press the start button with the window button at the same time. Then you can take a screenshot of your device. However, it's not available from an API's point of view. So let's take. Do you have any questions before we can just show that in a moment in a Visual Studio basis? Questions? I know this session might be, I mean, like not that interesting because it's more of showing what's new, but it's very important for you guys to know what's available before getting your hands dirty coding. So that's how I see it happening. So here's the emulator again. So again, for the emulator, it's very important that you can do the zooming and whatever. You can do the orientation. Very important when you're testing orientation changes on your phone. You can hear the additional tools that you can use, accelerometer, where you can detect the device movement if you're using the accelerometer sensor or a moving or the motion sensors you're having. We've got also the X, Y, and Z coordinates. They're very important if you're developing an application that uses your accelerometer. I developed an app for that before, so we can definitely go through that if you want. And the good thing about accelerometer, it's the same code that you can use for accelerometer. It's the same one on Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8. So you can just copy paste or import your application from Windows 8 to Windows Phone 8 or from Windows Phone 8 to Windows 8. Even the screenshot, you can just capture a screenshot. These are very important when you're publishing the application to the store. You can check the networking conditions and what have you. So this is for the emulator, and for regarding the simulation dashboard, you can just go here and type simulation dashboard, and then you can enable the networking simulation on your device. Oops, okay, transfer me a new emulator because I did not change that from here. And then you can connect with whichever things whether you want the phone to be in a locked screen mode or whatever the networking things you would like to make available. Most probably because I'm running two at the same time. So this is very important to know. So do we have any questions so far? A huge silence I'm getting. Okay, just one last thing I wanted to show you before we move. That, for example, so let me, like, this is how you create a new project for Windows Phone. So now I selected the C# Windows Phone app template, and then you'll get two target devices, OS, the version that you can target. So I'm selecting the Windows Phone 8.0. Just press OK. Now I'm creating a new project for Windows Phone 8. So for you, there's once you create that, you'll get two things, and you'll get lots of things that you can see. This is the design view for your for your application, and this is the XAML code, or the code, and the XAML code identifies how the UI looks like on your phone. So whether you're selecting a grid, title, or whatever, then this is it's reflected here in the UI. There's a properties section where you can change the values. So for example, for the page name, you can change the text here, and then it will be reflected in your design as well. There's also so that was in the main page.xaml applications. The main page.xaml.c#, which contains the code that you'd like to use in the background for your application, which is which is kind of your engine for your application. There's also one very important thing is, if you are a designer, if you don't want to, one of the tools I'd like to share with you, if you are a designer and you don't, you're not familiar with the Windows Phone for the Visual Studio, you can just right click on your application here and open something called opening blend, expression blend. It comes for free with the SDK. Once you open your application in Blend, this is what you okay. Close opens here in my machine. So this is what you get. So this is a design view for your application. You can use you can have a better experience as a designer. You can design lots of things here for your application. You can add buttons. You can do, by the way, you can still add buttons in the Visual Studio, but you can add buttons. You can change the colors. You can add a border brush. You can do a lots of things on here. And just all you have to do is maybe like save, close, and then open in Visual Studio. Will tell you that there are lots of modifications. Then you can open it and you'll find what modification you did in the blend reflecting in your Visual Studio. So that means that we are giving the developer and the designer different experiences, so that so that it makes lives easier between them. So the designer is just working on the design and the developer can just work on developing applications. We're going to have a session about how to design applications for Windows Phone, and we're going to start building applications in the next few sessions as well. Like, we're going to get started with like building a first app, hello world, and then we're going to get that forward to using files and storage, live files, and lots of these things that you can using speech and lots of other stuff that you have to know about Windows Phone 8 development. Do you have any questions, guys? I mean, like, I don't want to go through coding because this is not the coding session for us, but if you have any questions, please let me know.